Ukraine is adding a new weapon to one of the most urgent battles of the war, the fight against Russia's expanding fleet of attack drones. On August 21st, Ukraine's defense ministry announced that its forces had received the Alexa Spatium, described as the country's first domestically produced jet-powered drone interceptor. The concept is straightforward. Instead of relying exclusively on expensive surface-to-air missiles or fighter aircraft, Ukraine wants smaller, faster unmanned systems capable of hunting down incoming drones. And the timing is significant. Russia has increasingly introduced jet-powered versions of its Shahed and Geran attack drones, creating a faster and more difficult target for Ukraine's existing counter-drone systems. For years, Russia has used large numbers of one-way attack drones to overwhelm Ukrainian air defenses. The strategy is partly about saturation. Launch enough drones simultaneously, force defenders to track multiple targets, and make Ukraine spend valuable interceptors on relatively inexpensive unmanned aircraft. But Russia has now added another layer to that problem. Ukraine says Russian forces are increasingly using jet-powered drones, with some variants capable of speeds approaching 500 kilometers per hour. That creates a difficult equation. Traditional air defense missiles can intercept them, but missiles are expensive and limited. Conventional interceptor drones can be much cheaper, but slower systems may struggle to catch a faster target. That is where jet-powered interceptors come in. Ukraine's Alexa Spatium is essentially an attempt to fight speed with speed. According to Ukraine's defense ministry, Alexa Spatium was developed by Ukrainian engineers specifically for real-world combat conditions. The aircraft is relatively compact, measuring approximately 1.5 by 1.7 meters. It uses a turbojet engine and is built from lightweight composite materials. But perhaps the most important feature is how quickly it can be deployed. The interceptor is launched from a mobile catapult, with Ukraine saying the system can be prepared and launched within minutes. The entire setup is designed to be highly mobile and compact enough to be transported in a pickup truck. That matters in Ukraine, where air defense systems must constantly move to avoid becoming targets themselves. Alexa Spatium's primary mission is to intercept Russian kamikaze drones. Ukraine specifically lists the Geran 3, Geran 4, Geran 5, and Shahed 131 among its intended targets. The system can also be used against reconnaissance drones, helicopters, and other small aerial targets. And this is important because the drone isn't being presented simply as another one-way attack UAV. It is an interceptor. Its job is to search for another aircraft, close the distance, and destroy it. The Defense Ministry says Alexa Spatium can use either pre-programmed coordinates or direct guidance, while its onboard systems include television and infrared search and targeting capabilities. There is another unusual feature. If Alexa Spatium fails to complete its mission, Ukraine says it can return to its launch point and be reused. That could become particularly important in a war where economics increasingly matters. A defensive system does not necessarily need to destroy every incoming drone with a missile costing hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. If a reusable interceptor can perform the same basic job at a much lower cost, it could change the economics of mass drone attacks. But there is an important caveat. Ukraine has not publicly released the interceptor's exact speed, range, combat radius, or production cost. So while the concept is clear, its real battlefield effectiveness remains to be demonstrated publicly. Alexa Spatium is also described as a modular platform. Depending on the mission, Ukraine says it can carry different types of warheads, including high-explosive fragmentation, shaped charge, and thermobaric payloads. That gives the system flexibility beyond simply chasing another drone. The Defense Ministry says it can engage small aerial, ground, and surface targets. The economics behind this battle may ultimately be as important as the technology. Alexa Spatium is also part of a much larger transformation inside Ukraine's defense industry. Ukraine's Defense Ministry says that since the beginning of 2026, it has codified and authorized 413 unmanned aerial systems for use by its armed forces. Nearly all are Ukrainian-made. That number illustrates how quickly Ukraine's domestic drone sector has expanded during the war. The country is no longer simply producing reconnaissance and strike drones. It is developing systems specifically designed to hunt other drones. And that distinction is becoming increasingly important as unmanned warfare dominates more of the battlefield. But despite the headlines surrounding Alexa Spatium, there are still major unanswered questions. Ukraine has not publicly disclosed its exact maximum speed. Its operational range has not been specified. Neither has its combat radius. The manufacturer has not been publicly identified by the Defense Ministry. There are also no publicly available figures for production rates, unit costs, or confirmed combat kills. Ukraine says testing showed the interceptor met the tactical and technical characteristics claimed by its manufacturer. But testing is not the same as sustained performance during a large Russian drone raid. That battlefield data will ultimately determine whether Alexa Spatium becomes a major part of Ukraine's air defense architecture. Still, the significance of Alexa Spatium goes beyond one aircraft. It reflects a broader change in modern warfare. Drones are getting faster. They are becoming harder to detect and intercept. And both Russia and Ukraine are responding by developing increasingly specialized unmanned systems. For Ukraine, the challenge is no longer simply stopping the Shahed. It is stopping hundreds of drones, potentially arriving in waves, while preserving expensive air defense missiles for the threats that require them most. Alexa Spatium is designed for precisely that environment. A small, mobile, jet-powered aircraft launched from a catapult, built not to bomb a target but to hunt another drone. And as Russia continues pushing faster attack drones into the skies over Ukraine, this race between drone and interceptor is likely to become one of the defining battles of the next phase of the war. They started with just an idea. The world calls it a startup. They call it a labor of love. Some burned out, some broke through, but every single one had a story worth hearing. This is where founders speak without filters, where investors reveal what they actually look for, where failure is just another chapter. Because no matter where the journey takes you, you're always asking the same question. What next?
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to Mirror Now.